maybe student. I am Kirk Roloff. I am not I'm an expert. And yeah, he called me this afternoon. He wasn't feeling well. He was talking to me earlier in the week, and he was all excited about coming in and teaching the Bible study. And so, unfortunately, it was the weather. And he said, "You better have something because I'm not going to be there." So I said, "Okay." And, I'm not going to be telling any fishy stories either. Yeah, no, no. Um, we've been talking about parables, and actually, the for each week this month, we're going to go over a parable. And so I thought, well, I'll take a parable. And I said, well, I don't want to take your parable because you're already working on it. I know you put a lot of work into it, so I'll do that one. But I actually went through a lot of notes trying to find who had what parable was next. And I actually don't know who has the next parable. And so I thought, well, if I take a parable, my odds, I'll get the guidance to it in the next one, And so, so anyway, what I know is the parable always so easy to define. Sometimes think we know, it's a story, narrative, tells stories that you can relate to something else. A lot of people have definitions, and some people go on to say that, the parable is really up to the reader and the interpreter of what it really means, different things like this. But specifically, the Bible says there are parables. Even the Old Testament refers to parables. And in the New Testament, sometimes it's a parable that we think it fits exactly the definition. So I think maybe the Bible has a little different definition. Sometimes we may look at it like Jesus like a parable and said, if the blind lead the blind, will they not both fall into the ditch? Maybe your normal thinking of the man goes to sow seed in the field and so forth. And it's a story that you say sets it for reflect. But the word parable comes from two different words. Parable, like or something like that is the two words that comes from these two words, which basically almost exactly get the word parable from. And it means to um, cast something down in contrast. Basically, to compare one thing, to put something side by side with something else. If you look at the word, what it means, the application would be, take one thing and you put it down next to something else and compare. Okay. We have a word we use to parabola. For those who know how to speak geometry, it's always called a parabola. I guess we're in Texas where we say nuclear, battery, and parabola. Right. So you have an X and Y graph, and then that you chart it. It goes maybe the curve goes up on one side of the top, and then there's a matching curve that goes down the other side. So you're comparing one thing to another, matching up. We see that in the Bible, there's a lot of things that are matching. Sometimes we read something about this, and it actually is telling us something, line, lead to line. Um, the story of John 9 about the blind man being healed. Pharisees, are we blind also? And then the whole idea is, yes, spiritually you are blind, and so we can see the
Hey, everybody, sorry about the problem. Pete's restarting the entire machine. They don't seem to have been able to reconnect everything after they got the sound problem fixed.
It's a challenge.
Yeah, yes, it is. The various parts of the system that are set up to work with our regular broadcasting don't always play together on Zoom.
If your ears were stopping. They want John 1:1 is it just the creation story in 1:15. It starts day one with 1:15 where John is introduced to us. Then it says the next day in 1:29, so we know that's day. Then it says the next day again, day 3 in 1:35. Then it says the following day in 1:43. And then it talks about the events happening to the disciples. And it says, and the third day there was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. So 3 more days passed. 3 more days passed. That's 5, 6, and 7. 5, 6, and 7. And this is the marriage. Yeah, and then John 2:1. Okay. So the rest of that. John 2:1 leads into the marriage of Cana. It says 3 days were there. 3 days are attributed to this miracle, leading into this miracle of Cana. And John tells us that by it, God's glory was manifested. Specifically saying something about this in this miracle. John 2:11, skipping down to it, we'll go back over it. It says, this beginning of miracles, beginning miracles, first one, did Jesus, the Cana of Galilee, manifested forth his glory, his disciples believed on him. Significant events. It's something that happened in this place called Cana, where marriage took place. So to complete our 7-day comparison in Genesis, God rested on the 7th day. Why? Because he was tired from all that work? No, because it was finished, complete. And then similarly, we know that Jesus, when he rested, when he said, it is finished, and gave up the ghost, his work was complete. Okay, so we see those two things. See the 7th day, the rest, in this miracle of Cana in that period, and he's giving it 3 days, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, so after Jesus was baptized of John and had gathered his disciples, he went to Cana at this wedding, made a brief stop in Capernaum, and then he went down to Jerusalem for the Passover celebration. And while he was in Jerusalem, he visited the temple. The temple would seem like a very likely place to me anyway for Jesus' ministry to begin. You know, he's the Messiah after all. He's coming to the kingdom. He's going to go to the temple. That would where I'd expect to see a big event. That's the right place to kick it off. I mean, it's the temple. Out loud. That's, you know, not, it's his house. So he shows a very different side of the Prince of Peace. John 2:14-22. Let me open my tab. 14-22. And found in the temple those who sold oxen and sheep and doves and chains and money sitting. That was just a temple in the Gentile court. They made scourge of small courts. He drove them all out of the temple, the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changes money over through the tables, and said unto them that sold doves, Make these things hence make not my Father's house and a house of merchandise. His disciples remembered that it was written, the zeal of my house hath eaten thee up. And they said the Jews and said unto him, what sign showest thou us by seeing that thou doest these things? Jesus answered and said unto them, destroy this temple. So they actually asked him for a miracle, didn't do one. What sign do you show? Doesn't give him one. But he said, destroy this temple. And we said the temple that before said the other, the Gentiles for. The word here used for means the priest for. So it's a different, very nice, specifically using the priest word. In 3 days I will raise it up. And said the Jews, 48 and 60 years was this temple in building. It had been standing for 46 years. Wilt thou rear it up in 3 days? But he spake of the temple of his body. When therefore he was risen from the dead, his disciples remembered that he had said unto them, and they believed the scriptures, which the word which Jesus had said. Okay, so he entered the temple, takes his scourge, the cords, overturned tables, about the merchants while pronouncing judgment to them in the form of Old Testament scripture. He doesn't perform a miracle. If you ask him for one, all he says is an explanation. Destroy this temple 3 days always. So what is the significance of these events? Why did he not perform a miracle here and begin his ministry here? And why is it so much significance seems to be given to this little wedding in Cana with this Samaria? This first miracle occurring again on this day 5, 6, and 7. How you count, maybe even say 4, 5, and 6. Maybe 6, 7, but 3 days of this ministry associated with God's rest, associated with Jesus' work being finished. So let's read that in John chapter 2. We'll read the story of Cana. There was a marriage in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. And both Jesus was called and his disciples to the marriage. And when they wanted wine, the mother of Jesus said to them, they have no wine. She said unto her, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come. I always think that answer, how out of context that seems, you know. When I was a kid, my mom said the garbage needed to be taken out. I said, woman, mine hour is not yet come. I don't think, it would have gone so well. I'm married now. I don't think they could still do work with the life to go, hey, garbage needs to go out. Woman, mine hour is not yet come. I think if my hour would just come right this. I just thought. He said unto the servants, whatsoever he saith unto you, or his mother said to them, whatsoever he saith unto you, do it. And there were sat there 6 water pots of stones, after the manner of the purifying of the Jews, containing 2 or 3 firkins apiece. I'll go back and comment because I have to read it. Jesus said unto them, fill the water pots with water, and filled them to the brim. He said unto them, draw out now and bear unto the governor of the feast, and bear it. When the ruler of the feast tasted the water that was made wine, he knew not whence it was. The servants which drew the water knew it. And the governor of the feast called the bridegroom and said unto him, every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, when men have well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now. The beginning of miracles of Jesus in Cana of Galilee, as we said before, and manifests forth his glory, and his disciples believed in him. 2 things that were saying, and the disciples believed on him. One was the temple, took the cords, threw them out, which came later, but first was this one. During the celebration of the wedding, the captain just put in my wine. They ran out of wine. Mary, Jesus' mother, tells her son, it's a guest. And he says, my hour is not yet come. Strange answer. Sure. But he didn't just ignore his commands that they 6 water pots that are there that they be kind of actually used for purification. It specifies the type used for purification. They use water pots for specific water for washings and so forth for purification. That can be filled with water and ground and put into the basically the master service. So when the MC drinks it, it's not water, but it's wine. They actually put wine even better than the previous wine in the room. They call it the room, and there's that need to save the best price to last. So we're examining the big Jesus mystery kind of with the hope it will shed light on the events of the temple. So far, we read about this first miracle. So let's try to understand some of the details. In the first covenant, Israel has blood to cover their sins. That's what it says. But there was a problem with this blood. What is the problem with the blood? To cover the sins. They have to do it year after year, right? So it runs out. At the refresher. Runs out. At the refresher. Every year they have to keep offering for the sins. They keep offering for the sins. Even this is the best is not constant covering. It's actually real bloody Satan to be in Israel during that time. But since Jesus died, he was buried and resurrected, we share in his death by baptism. His blood is applied to us. We have a better, more perfect sacrifice that only needs to be offered once. So we save the best wine for last. It's more sensitive, like Jesus said, one, but now is by you come, they run out of wine. Just ahead. Just make a connection like this story to the other. Just seeing, it's telling us a little bit more than we just so 6 water pots. What are they used for?
Can anyone hear us?
Greg, you're loud and clear.
I guess we can hear each other, can't hear what they're saying.
I can't hear either. Can anyone hear anything?
They have Pastor's mic muted.
But they can hear us if we speak. Sorry, guys, the computer at the church locked up. They're working on rebooting it.
Oh, it was Cain, right? He didn't just say, hey, write this down. The hand of God stooped down and wrote. So who is in the temple right now? It's the significance isn't what he wrote, it's who he is and what he's saying by who he is. He is God in the temple writing, and they're all getting it here. Because what's here? What is this now? The temple. He's bringing the word to the temple. And they're all hearing this, and they're all convicted from the oldest to the youngest, which means, the wisest to the most foolish, I think. The one with the most sin to the ones that are just starting out their adventure. And then afterwards, they all leave, right? And so who's left? The woman and Jesus, yeah, and God. So all the people that thought they were going to bring accusation against her, those who thought that they were going to bring judgment against her, that would have been part of the stoning if Jesus said, I'll throw the first stone, and everybody else said, we're right there with you, bud. They don't do it. They leave. They leave because they're not worthy to do it. I mean, themselves are guilty. And so it would take somebody, it would have, by the way that worked, the only person who had been left standing there would have been somebody who was sinless. Right? So who was left standing there? Jesus, who is sinless. I mean, it's the layers on layers of stuff that God's showing us, just baffles me. So parallels abound. Feast of Tabernacles, remembering our dwelling place, temple, God's house. The adulterous woman, what do you think that is? Israel. Moses and the law, the old covenant, casting stones, judgment, Jesus writing on the ground, the hand of God writing in the new dwelling place, grace in man's heart. No condemnation, go and sin no more. It's example of grace. He's bringing something better than the old. He's bringing the law of grace into the hearts of men. This is the message that Jesus is conveying. When Jesus came down to earth, what are you saying? He paid the price so that his law could be written in our hearts. When he lifted up himself, the accusers were gone. The accuser of the brethren was cast down when he lifted up himself on the cross. And Jesus fulfills what the Bible, illustrates. Even in its own story, it's fulfilling, it's proving itself through itself. And there is no book that comes close to it. And it's not just this little story. I mean, you can go everywhere. The gospel, the gospel of the Old Testament, the gospel of Esther, take one. The gospel of Ruth. The gospel of Solomon, the gospel of David. You just keep going through, you find it. The gospel of Joseph. You'll find all these ways that God's telling us the story. The gospel of Adam and Eve and the skin that was provided for their sin. It's just all over and over again we see it. The gospel of Noah, which is alluded to in 1 Peter 3, where it talks about the like days. So like days as Noah went in the ark, 8 souls were saved by water, and so forth. How it just gives us the same story. So that's where I'll stop, because I could probably give you enough to look at. Maybe we're gonna have some questions with that. But that's some of the things that fascinates me about the scriptures, is how it's beyond comprehension to me, how much it says. And the story isn't just the story. There's a story on the story, under the story, the story within the story. Yeah, it's just how it is. So anyway, there you have our Bible study for the evening, and I'll turn it back to whomever. I guess it would be you, because you're the only one pastor left in the room. Oh, there you are in the back. Yeah, you're here. All right.